78.6 FM, positive vibes of Winsome. Hey, gentlemen, ladies, young men, young women, just all jokes aside, the community of Okinawa, the community of Yomatan, I'm so grateful to be back for another weekend to talk to you guys about hopefully some positives, some tips you can take away with you to just smile and just have a good day, man, and hopefully carry that same energy into your week. Someone asked me, which is really gave me a boost a little bit ago. Someone asked me, why do you keep going and doing these things, man? What drives you? What gives you that little boost to get up and go speak to others? And what is it about speaking life into people? And just so you know, I don't wake up and jump into Zoom conversations every day or Facebook chats, Facebook Messenger chats, right? But I do have some blessed opportunities to speak to some folks who really give me joy, right? And some teammates who really have some beautiful visions. Last night I had an interview with Dr. Daturi, who, as you guys know, is spending 100 days underwater to see what kind of effects that has on the human body, the human system, your mind, your body, your spirit, and not just immediate effects, but long-term effects. So this is an amazing gentleman out there doing, Dr. Daturi, amazing researcher, prior military, 28 years of Navy. He was a commander before he got out and came back to do some beautiful things for the world. So to have 20, 30 minutes with him last night while he's underseas in this underseas vessel, right, the Neptune, and he gave me a tour for everyone on Team Kadena. This interview was something that's coming out next week, but he gave me a tour. And so I couldn't even sleep thinking about how cool that was. I just went to sleep, I'm sure, with a smile on my face. 78.6 FM, positive vibes of Winsome. It's Saturday here. The sun hasn't peeked through the clouds yet. It's looking like it's fighting through. It's beautiful, a little overcast. After this, I'm got a couple of things I want to do for myself because it's time, right? I finally got my sleep back together from that trip. I was telling my teammate, I mentioned earlier the conversation, what drives you, what motivates you, to see people win. And I'm going to say that again. He asked me, why do you keep doing it? What is it? You know, self-motivation, you teach these things and talk to people, but what is it that drives you? What motivates you? I love to see people win. And some folks don't realize how powerful that is, not just for them, but for me too, when I know that I played a role in that life to make that person better. That today is better than yesterday because of not necessarily just something I said, but because that person felt like they had someone in their corner. When I hear people in this community say, hey, Winsome son, I heard you on the radio, FM Yomatan. I was like, yeah, right? This becomes not just home anymore. These people become family. And we're connected. And when I see people win, and even when they go through those peaks, those positive peaks and negative peaks in their life, when they come through it on the end, when they're going through that roller coaster, and they remember that was a kind voice that helped me get here. That was a kind person that was there when I needed them. That was a scenario where I felt like I was by myself for a moment, but I realized that I wasn't. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what keeps me coming every single week, every single day, every single minute that I wake up, hoping that I can change a life or save a life for someone who's struggling to get through their worst day, right? But anyway, I say all that to say this. It was an awesome question, a great reflection question. We call them coaching questions, right? To kind of gear that thought process going into today. Last week, I really hit home. It was my first weekend back from a long adventure. I was still kind of shaking off all the sleep. I know I travel a lot, but that was one of those I was like, I got to shake it off and get back. And I promise you this week we talk about formal and informal mindfulness. And before I even jump into talking about that, I want to tell you why it's important. One of those things that people don't realize is that when you can take your mind back, you can take control of your life. That's one of those key ingredients in taking your life back. And if I'm spending all of 2021, 2022 talking about taking your life back, how you're pouring into yourself so that you can pour out to others, refueling yourself, re-energizing, giving yourself that boost, that love that you need for you so that you can be that beacon of light and love for others. This is never scripted. This is never, I come in here with some notes and I look down and be like, so let me tell you, based on what the scholar, no, this is from not just life experiences, but from conversations, coaching conversations that I've had, not just throughout the week, throughout the year, but online and all over the world. You'd be surprised, and I'm going to say this to you, you'd be surprised how someone who's going through something in Japan is very similar to what someone is going through right now in the U.S. Very similar to what someone is going through right now in Australia, which is very similar to what someone else is going through in Philippines. Different jobs, different dynamics, it can be a different gender. But the whole key and the whole ingredient behind it, the whole secret is it's life. People are going to go through things. People are going to experience things. The key is, how do they get through it? How do they evolve from that experience, right? On the other end. We talked about resilience 2.0. I got teammates all over the world right now talking about resilience, talking about emotional intelligence, talking about the growth mindsets. I love it. I just been hearing these different ways of expressing the same message. But the key is, how are these individuals, not the ones teaching, but the folks on the other end, how are they receiving the information and what are they doing with it for their everyday life? Something I heard that was powerful from Dr. Tao's book was talking about we go through the honeymoon phase. Now, I'm going to tell you what the honeymoon phase is if you're not tracking. The honeymoon phase is when you get some great information. Watch this, honeymoon phase. I listen to one of my favorite motivational speakers. I feel boosted. I feel like I can change the world, lift the world. I can go in and throw the gym around. I just feel like I got the energy. Woohoo! And then 6 p.m. hits. Something in your life just gets in the way, knocks you off balance. You forgot all about those words, or you just couldn't stick to anything that you heard that morning that was pretty much energizing you throughout the day. It's the honeymoon phase. You read a great book. After that book, you close the cover, the last page turns, and you're just like, whoa, I feel like I can do something with this. Let's go. And then the day, you go in there and that one thing happens that ruins that moment, that ruins your day, that ruins your week. Listen to me, it's the honeymoon phase. If we can get people past the honeymoon phase, whereas as soon as you close that cover, something happens to you and you can connect it to something that you just heard, read, and then you can make your next decision or your next action based on that information. You feel empowered. That's what I want to be able to do. That's what I aspire to be able to do. That's who I try to surround myself with, are those people who are trying to be echoes of positivity throughout the world. Echoes of positivity, giving a message that not only is going to get you past the honeymoon stage, but that you can constantly connect to, and that you're inspired, motivated, and driven to go look up yourself, that you want to say, hey, that sounded really cool. So there's more than one way to reset, re-energize, more than one day, macro, micro ways to, you hear what I'm telling you? These are the things that drive me. These are the reasons why I talk to the people that I do, read the books that I do, teach the classes that I do, because I'm driven different. Driven completely different. I'm going to say one of my favorite people is really cool, man, and I always love when we talk. I don't ever jump on this page and talk to him like we don't chat. And if we're not chatting on the phone, I don't want to be fake, right? But the fired up chief, Juan Lewis, he said something today when it pertains to our job. We got to stop teaching people how to promote and teach people how to take care of others. Now, if you've been listening to me for the past couple of years, you know that's my primary goal. How do I teach you to be a better person so that you're approaching what you do in a spirit of how can I serve others? To make them a better version of themselves, to make them a better person. Because at the end of the day, they can be great at their job, but if they suck in life and they suck in how they're treating people, then at the end of the day, they're not going to get as far as they can. It takes me back to the old African proverb, right? Is together or alone we go fast, but together we go far. I had a conversation with two of my besties today. We talked this morning, business call. And we have to separate it because, we all got 3 different journeys. So when we get on the phone, we got to separate and talk business. And one of the things that my primary concern, if we talk business, we go into this business together or we do this venture, right? This conversation. One of the things that's primary for me is family first. Number one is never anyone in this group that's more important than the other. We are family. It's kind of like Bad Boys, right? We ride together, bad boys for life. But no, realistically, if you can approach everything like that with care, with heart, with genuine care, not care because I need people to look like I care. I need it to be something that, people see, but I don't really feel it. No, when you genuinely care about people and what you're doing, it changes everything. Everything. So when I was here, a young version of me, right, I was driven differently. We talked about how you look at your job last week, right? Do you see that as a job? Do you see that as a career? Do you see it as a calling? And I was driven differently. I was career hungry for a long time. How do I do what I need to do to extend and promote in my job, in this career, right? I was real stuck between job and career. And when I came back to the point where I realized that people were the most important ingredient in everything that I'm doing. The most important people at work, the most important people at home, those relationships matter. When I realized the importance of character, when I realized the importance of legacy, when I realized the importance of valuing something and driving everything you do around what you value, and I realized that my number one value was time. How much time am I pouring into the family? How much time am I pouring into myself? How much time am I pouring into this mission? How much time am I pouring into other people? How much time am I doing the things that I love to do? When I started re-evaluating this and recreating world building around my number one value, everything changed. But I had to get there first. And it took me a while. I told the team today, I bumped my head a few times. I bump my head every week on purpose so that I can realize that what I'm trying to do next, there were some lessons along the way. These are lessons that I had to learn, not just for me and my future, but for when someone else is trying to navigate life, go somewhere and do something with themselves, I can be there for them. I'm built different. If I can teach that, if I can reach one person, and I try to do that each day, one person a day, if I can reach that dial in their brain and realize this shift, because there's so many people that are driven by money. I had a young man do that yesterday. I asked him why he wanted to do something when he grew up, and the first thing he said was money, which I get it, but if I can shift that a little bit, sure. Because when you shift it in, you realize that it's a whole being scenario we're playing right now. Everything about you, plus how you leave your legacy in this world. Was your story you was chasing money? Because we see how that turns out for a lot of people. You can turn on any other channel right now and hear those stories of how they crash and burn and they were by themselves. Or was your world being, your whole being, right? Was it focused on how you were giving back and how that was fueling you and giving you that all the energy you need to keep going? You hear this all the time about what you put out in the universe is what you get back. I honestly believe that when you're giving and pouring into others and you're giving everything of you, you leave it all in the paint, including your family. Don't forget that. But when you leave it all in the paint, you can lay your head down on that pillow exhausted knowing that you gave that day everything you had with no regrets. You didn't leave out of there with no drama, no beef. You weren't feeling any kind of way about anybody. You walked into that day and you left it with no regrets because if there was some negativity out there, you squashed it. You had those tough conversations. You made sure that you created a loving environment anywhere you went. You made sure that you were trying to be that beacon of light for other people because not everybody has one. You would think, but I promise you that's not the case. You're trying to be the best version of you so that you can help someone realize who the best version of them is. That, my friends, if I can teach that, if I can reach that, and if I can pull that out of just at least one person each day, then I feel like I'm living in my purpose. 78.6 FM Yoma time, positive vibes of Winsome. We'll be right back after this break. 78.6 FM Yomatan. FM Yomatan, positive vibes with Winsome. I talked to my buddy Cam this morning, and he always reminds me that I'm always moving. I always got some sort of project going on. I'm going in 15 different directions at once. And my sister Shelly, she likes to say, Winsome, don't spread yourself too thin. And I'm always moving. I ain't gonna lie. I know what it's like to live inside my head with ideas and thoughts and projects, and I can't. I know that tomorrow's not promised. I'm gonna say that again. I know that tomorrow's not promised. And if tomorrow doesn't come, anything that was stuck in my head to do for someone else, to create, to build, to a goal, if it's stuck up there, it's never going to be a reality. Yes, someone else might run with it later on down the line, but if I can create it while I'm here, what am I waiting for? 78.6 FM, positive vibes of Winsome. I love both of them because both of them say something that's really, they don't think I listen to them because I'm always moving. I always pause, smile, or I might throw another comment, a follow-up after that to kind of draw attention away from it. But the reality is, both of them make me ask the question. Winsome, something that I used to always hear from my mom. I've heard it in I want to say I don't know who quoted it, right? So I don't want to mess that up. But I've heard this my entire life. I know you can move, but can you be still? And I'm going to say that again because I really want you to hear those words. I've said it on my page a few times. You follow me on Facebook. But I want you to listen to this real quick because if this is you in your life and where you are in your journey and you're moving, when we're talking about mindfulness, when we're talking about what informal and what formal mindfulness is and why that's important, I know you can move, but can you be still? I know you can go, go, go. I know that from the point for some of you, when you jump up out the bed in the morning, you got to take care of someone else. If you got kids, you got to go to work and take care of missions. You got to take care of the spouse, make sure their needs are attended to. You got to take care of your boss, make sure their expectations are met. I know all these things are happening, and so many of us, especially back home in the U.S., so many of us on the go, go, go. I know you can move, but can you be still? And when I say that, it's called being able to pause. And one of the things Dr. Tao and Ben Shahar, of course, this is from the Happier No Matter What. One of the things that I love, one of the messages that we taught last week in a class to 40 attendees, and thank you to everyone who showed up to support our first time teaching Happier No Matter What. And I'll get back to that in a minute. But one of my favorite messages was, check this out. Your brain needs that. Your body needs that. Every time you pause, every time you take that time out to give that back to yourself, it's telling your mind and your body that you matter too. And the key is when people hear the words meditation, let's talk about formal first, right? When people hear the word meditation, the first thing they're thinking of is whatever you saw in those 80s movies, right? I forget the Eddie Murphy movie where he was yama, yama, yama. Whatever it was that you think of, I'm going to tell you, formal meditation isn't about just making sounds and sitting on the yoga mat in a yoga lab, a yoga studio. It's remembering how to breathe. Listen to me when I say that because I'm going to save that again and I'm going to slow it down for my friends here listening in the Yomatown community. Meditation isn't about being in the yoga class and when they're instructing you on how to move and how to breathe and listen and be present. It's about how you breathe. We move so fast. We let stress get to us that we've forgotten as we've grown older and we've gone through our days on a go, go, go. We've forgotten how to just stop, pause, and breathe. When was the last time you just took time to yourself to block out the noise? I love that term. To block out the noise. Go somewhere, a quiet place, and just for a second, just take those deep breaths. Listen to me, just me doing that just now, it slows down everything and gives me a chance to reset, refocus, and not just one time, but how do you do that in a rhythm to where you're just letting your mind relax, letting your body be at one with what's going on around you. And I'm not trying to sound like your yoga instructor. I'm trying to tell you that there's a magic in learning how to breathe. We teach EQ and then we jump into happier no matter what. And I'm realizing that the messaging when it comes to being mindful is amazingly similar in both of those courses. But the magic behind the one that we just taught is taking the time to find a meditation that works for you. Doesn't have to be in the yoga studio. It's when you find the time in your day. And I'm going to tell you there's a word behind that: to heal your mind. What? Kelly, what you talking about? My mind is fine. Let me tell you, there's connectivity, or there's a connection between formal meditation and the healing that your mind does. Remember, there's a body-mind connection that goes on that people don't like to talk about because they act like one and the other. It's your mind's doing one thing and your body's doing something else. There are so many connections to the two that when you're taking time to allow your mind to heal, there's studies, researchers have done projects all the time. Okay, when you go in and you meditate, I want you to meditate 45 minutes 3 times a week. An outcome from the person that did it 2 minutes, maybe twice a week. The point is that when they took the time to be still, it was better for their mind, their mental health, their self-awareness, their energy. It changes everything. It's so hard. It's so difficult for some people to remember how to breathe. To take that time out of their day just to give themselves a moment of peace, a moment of clarity, a moment to re-engage and just be present. I've been jumping into one of my favorite moments last week. So I'm at the Oceanside Acupuncture Studio. And I'm going to say that again because it's one of my favorite places to go. There's 2 places on here. One of my favorite places to go when I just need to relax is the Oceanside Acupuncture Studio, which is here in Yobantan, Gala. And I go and I'm getting a massage. Now, I've gotten massages for years, and this story I've only told it once. So when I was young, I had this thing, right, when I was in my 20s. And if y'all know, and I'm going to give a shout out to, I'm going to send this link to you, but I used to always look for older women. I had this fascination with older women. They just did something for me. They just made me smile. I was like, the way they move. So I'm in my 20s. I'm looking for the 30-year-old woman. That's who I wanted to date. I wanted a lady who had their stuff together, even though I wasn't together at all. That's who I was chasing, right? It's funny, but it's true. Now I'm in the military, so I'm, this is before all the little text you can do on the phones. We didn't have phones back then, so I'm sending emails, right? Hey, girl. Or, excuse me, man, what you doing for lunch? Can we sit down? I would always find a way to have those conversations and to make my moves or to show the swag, whatever I did. I had a hairline back then, too. Anyway, all jokes aside, listen to me. There was one young lady who was like, okay, let's see what this young man got, right? She gave me time of day. I didn't expect it, but let's go. I'll take it, right? So she said, hey, let's go. Let's do something this weekend different. I'm going to take you to get a massage. And I never had one. This guy from Cali, I've never had a massage. What is a massage? I've seen this where the guys is giving ladies massages, but I've never had one, right? And so we go in. I'm getting my first massage, and it's a couple massage. Well, the walls are separated, and there's someone else. She and I in one room, and there's someone else in the room over to us, other side of the wall, right? And I remember laying there getting this massage, and I was in my head. And I'm going to tell you what that means. I'm thinking about everything. Oh, I hope my toenails don't scratch this lady's hands. Oh, I hope that, I clean my ears out enough and it's not. It was just the randomest thoughts going through my head. I had hair back then, so I hope that her nails don't get stuck in my hair. It was the dumbest thoughts. And again, I could not get comfortable. I'm thinking about all of these things. So my body's tensing up, and I just could not get comfortable in one of the most relaxing stages. And as I'm laying there, I'm listening. I'm just trying to kind of listen to what's going on around me. You got the music, the little soft music going on. The lady's asking, sir, you want more pressure? I didn't know what that meant. And I was like, yeah, I think right. But on the other side of the wall, I hear snoring. And watch this. I was like, that's funny. This person in here getting a massage and they don't even know what they're getting because they fell asleep, right? That's crazy. Come on, man. You just paid $100 for this or whatever amount of money in your sleep. Right? So here I am, growing older. Massages became a part of my routine. I'm going to tell you what I realized, the difference between me and the person that's in that room and that had disease back when I was in my 20s, that was knocked out. The difference between me is I was stuck in my head, uncomfortable, couldn't be, couldn't enjoy anything. That person had figured out how to let it all go. Let me say that again. I'm uncomfortable. I'm in my own head. I'm hearing that noise. And I realize now that person in that room over had figured out how to let everything go. Block out the noise in his head. Be present in the moment with them hands on his back. And he was gone, snoring. He was relaxed, fully relaxed to the point where he was asleep. So imagine when we can take our life back. You block out the noise in the everyday. Take just a few moments to let it go and just say, I'm just going to be present with what's happening right now. What's going on around me right now. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to appreciate the sun hitting my skin, the sound of the waves if you're by the water or the wind. Just seeing life as a miracle. Remember what Einstein said, right? You can see life in two ways, as if nothing's a miracle, as if everything is a miracle. Option 2. And when you experience that, when you truly come back to that formal mindfulness, when you figure out what meditation works for you to bring you back to a place to where you can be present in the moment, it changes everything. You go from the person that's tensed up and stressed and hands sweating and everything else to the person that has learned how to let it go and be present. I'm going to give you some tips of informal mindfulness. It's going to blow your mind because it's so simple that we don't do it. Just like breathing and learning tips to breathe, reading up different meditation skills is easy. Watch when I tell you what informal mindfulness is. We'll be back right after this break. .6 FM Yoma Time, positive vibes of Winsome. I'm so grateful to be back on the air. And gratitude for me is it takes on a whole lot of different forms. Just from seeing the smiles of the team when I walk in here to talk to you, to get in here with no traffic, no issues, to waking up this morning knowing that my mind wasn't clouded from the week so I can come in here and talk to you and keep a smile on my own face, right? I'm excited to be here. Now, I can complain about a lot of things, but it's not in my spirit to do. I even tell my teammate that all the time. I'm like, I don't want us to have an environment where we complain. I want us to have an environment where we're seeking solutions, answers, and that we're coming in here with a positive mindset. it changes everything. It shifts even the environment that you work in and live in. If you walk in with a positive mindset and you don't allow negativity to seep in and try to take over that environment, you're winning. There's so many people that just roll with it. Someone's complaining, just roll with it without having that opportunity to using that little bit of energy to bring some positivity back into the room. Because once negativity takes over, and I'm going to tell you guys 100% because I've seen it, it literally starts becoming places you don't want to be. And you start resenting those places. I can get into that next week. I promise. I just want to say that because I was thinking about the difference between certain environments and why negativity and positivity play such a valuable and valid role in how you approach not just work, but home. There are a couple things I want to talk to you about when it comes to informal mindfulness. And I just want to remind you that presence is a gift. I told you last week about the story of looking over the pirate ship with the kiddos, right? And how it was just not necessarily seeing the whale jump out of the water, but me being present enough with them to say, hey, come see this. Get out your phone for a minute. Stop talking about the video games that are out right now and talk to each other about what we could be doing differently. But I'm going to tell you one of the greatest gifts that I had when I was around, and I'll give you my 11-year-old. She likes to talk about some of the most random things that if you're an adult, you're like, I have no idea who this person is you're telling me about. She'll just say some names of some students. And, and so-and-so did this, and then she told so-and-so this. It's literally my little girl. She cracks me up because she has these stories as if I'm in class with her. And I have absolutely no idea what she's talking about. But I would tell you, and not just because it's daddy's baby, and I'm smiling as she's telling me the story, but I listen as if I know what she's talking about. I listen as if I can navigate with her through this because whatever she's telling me is important enough for her to share with me. Presence is a gift. So my presence is, if for her, hopefully she's receiving that as a gift. And me, her presence, the fact that she trusts me, that she wants to talk to me about these things, right? Because I'm going to miss it when she goes through those stages where she doesn't want to talk to dad anymore about these things. But the fact that she's sharing her presence with me, listening is one of the most treasured informal practices you can ever have. Informal mindfulness. Listen. I just gave you an example of me listening to my daughter, really listening to where she's at as a person, as a character, as a little animated object, so cute, coming here telling me these stories and me interpreting this and then trying to, when she sees that I'm spitting it back to her. And I'm seeing that she's even more encouraged to talk because she realized that I'm actually listening to her. I'm not trying to fix anything. I'm not trying to resolve. I'm just listening to her. And I asked my baby, just like I asked here at practice, I asked my little girl, I said, hey, do you want me to listen? Do you want me to give you advice, baby? What do you want? But let's take that a step further. One of my favorite places to go, and you guys always see me. I bought them over here. I got sets too, right? One for the radio, one for my personal. But you guys see me all the time with these bad boys on, right? You see me all the time with the headphones. If you guys are listening in and can't see this, the big Sonys that are over my head. Even if I'm on the beach, you see those. But they're not always on. If I just need some energy, some positive energy in my life, there's things I'll listen to that brings, that re-energizes me on a level that I know I need. So I have those on for that. But if I'm being mindful in the moment and I go somewhere, for example, the top of the Zampa Lighthouse, and I'm standing there and I'm listening to the water crash up against the side of the lighthouse walls. If I'm listening to the waves move, the way the wind is blowing, and I hear, you know how the wind sounds when it hits the side of your ear or your earlobe? If I just take a second to listen to what's going on around me and just be present in that moment, not only what I'm seeing, but what I'm hearing, the seagulls making their noise as they fly in the distant little sound. Everything is so powerful, and to me it's so beautiful that I'm listening to it. Now, we did a little study. It's funny because we're doing a formal practice in the class that I taught last week, and people were in there. And as I'm trying to, my teammate, Rico Berlin, a beautiful person, I love her to death. She's reading how to be mindful in a meditation technique. And as everybody's there, you could tell they were like at that relaxed moment. They're just really getting into it, right? Really vibing. And then the AC kicks up. And you see a couple people's eyes peek over like, oh, what was that, right? It was cute. But the way that she was able to, with her words and with her voice, bring them back gently. Can you do that for yourself formally and informally? Can you bring yourself back to the place where you are? And when I say this, I ask that because a lot of people let their mind, thoughts, and everything carry them away. You can be standing in the most beautiful place, sitting in the most beautiful moment, but you're not present. So it's like not for nothing. Then you think about it, and those are the people that you hear all the time saying, I wish I can go back there, or I wish I can do that all over again, because they were not present in the moment. I tell the story about Dubai all the time, my favorite place, Atlantis. It was so beautiful. But the company that I had was such a distraction that now one of my goals in life is to go back, not just to Dubai, but to specifically Atlantis, so I can re-experience it to where I know who I am now as a person, what I need, and how I can take it all in, and how I won't have this regret for who I chose as company on these adventures. So if you don't hear anything else, listening to what's going on around you is listening to what's happening around you, who's speaking to you. Not just being present in the moment visually, but being able to listen to those things. Because guess what? When you are connecting to those senses, it changes everything. I said this months ago, and I'll say this again. When you can disconnect to connect. Whew, buddy. Winston, what does that mean? What does disconnect to connect? Remember when I told my kids to put those phones down and come here, baby. You need to see this. Disconnecting, when you can find not just a day to just separate from electronics, but when you can make sure that you're appreciating those moments and that electronics picture taking isn't the primary focus. I have a friend now, every 5 minutes, I see a picture of something they're doing, a video, short clip. Every 5 minutes, this person then went from the store to the house. I've got a video of it. The person ate breakfast. I got a video of it, right? Every 5 minutes. And the question is, how are you enjoying these things if you're so focused on recording it? What about the experience? We've lost that. That is a lost art. I've heard so much recently about how a lot of depression and anxiety is stemming from the importance or the priority that we put into electronic communications. We're losing that aspect of the relational wellness, that being able to really interact with the people around you and what's in front of you. We're losing the spiritual wellness when I can't connect and be present, because guess where I'm at? I'm in here. The phone, if you can't see me. So when you can disconnect to connect, if you find not just times periodically throughout your day that you have the electronics off. Now, if you work in a job that's, it's an electronic job, I get it. But when you get away from that place, is there a room in your house where there's no electronics? Is there space built into your day to where electronics do not drive those moments? Do you have that in your life? A lot of people, like I just mentioned earlier, they allow electronics to control, social media to control their next moves. And if you haven't been paying attention, I haven't even dropped. I paused. I said, you know what? I realized that the people that are listening to my message want something that's well thought out, not rushed, and not on a schedule like everyone else. It has to be something that's from the heart, meaningful. So I haven't dropped a podcast. I haven't been on Facebook. I literally took a break when I came back to reevaluate, to disconnect, to connect. And it probably hasn't even been noticed. For the people who were following, they noticed. I get the little tips. Hey, when you dropping the next podcast episode, man, what are you doing? I watched. There is a book called Everyone Has a Podcast. I loved when I looked at the concepts. I haven't skimmed through it. I ain't gonna lie and say I read the whole thing, but just the concepts of this. Everybody has one. Man, there's entertainers, athletes, scholars, everyday you who's just what a podcast just to talk, just to highlight what they, whatever it is. And there's also some really cool ones. Like I like the ones that are talking about travel and talking about haunted places and talking about investigations. One of my favorites is Fake Doctors, Real Friends from the cast of Scrubs, because I was in love. You guys hear me talk about Scrubs all the time with that show. But I'm gonna tell you, everybody has a podcast. So what makes mine unique? That's the question this book asks you. What makes yours unique? Mine is, I'm not trying to force feed you with a bunch of randomness because I'm trying to meet a deadline and I don't really have any heart behind that. So until I have a message that is well thought out, or excerpt from this show that's important and special to me, I'll drop. It's kind of like a Drake album, or what's the dude's name? J. Cole. When they drop, it's from the heart. They took heart and passion and put it into there. So the next series that I put out is going to be because it's well thought out and valued from not just, I know the folks who are going to listen to it, but for me in my heart as well. But I say all that to say this: I had to disconnect from all of that so that I can connect. What I used to say last year was I had to disconnect to reconnect, right? Last but not least, those are two: informal, listening and disconnecting to reconnect. Disconnect to connect. The last one is savor. Oh my. I had this cafe here in Yomitan. Amazing cafes here in Yomitan. A lot of wonderful breakfast restaurants. And I'm going right after this, by the way. But I had one the other day that they had French toast, eggs, bacon, a little salad. It was the most amazing looking and prepared meal. You could tell they put love behind this in the kitchen. But the thing that I had to do after I had just read this and just listened to this, I wanted to savor this meal. I wanted this to taste differently. I wanted to experience the textures. I wanted to have the different flavors go throughout, as I'm chewing, and just take it all in. Be present in this meal. Not every meal. Some I just need to eat and get through, but this one specifically, I wanted to practice savoring this meal. Listen to me when I tell you that it changed that meal entirely. I know if I would have scarfed it down, I wouldn't have tasted it and I wouldn't have savored it the way it was. It was so amazing. It was like 1,000 times probably more delicious than it probably would have been if I just ran in and ran through or got it to go. It was amazing, the entire experience, because I savored it. So I'm going to tell you this thing for the last 3. Informal mindfulness. Listen. Disconnect to reconnect. And start to savor. Pick a meal, pick a moment, pick a time. Just take it all in. And it's going to change your life. Your whole spiritual well-being is going to change. You are loved, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. 78.6 FM, Positive Vibes of Winsome. See you next week.
音楽の途中ですが、ここでお知らせがあります。スポンサー ES サービスよりお知らせです。トイレの嫌な匂いで困っている方いませんか？水だけで汚れも取れる、除菌もできる、さらにトイレの嫌な匂いも取れる ESM 触媒水装置。介護施設や保育所、飲食店、一般家庭用など匂いで困っているという方におすすめ。ただいま ESM 触媒水装置を1ヶ月お試しできる無料レンタルサービスを行っております。お問い合わせは株式会社 ES サービス、電話番号 098-890-5627 098-890-5627までご連絡ください。先着30台限定となっておりますので、お早めにご連絡よろしくお願いします。以上、スポンサー ES サービスからのお知らせでした。続きまして、スポンサーローヤルレストランより店舗リニューアルのお知らせです。ローヤルレストランは現在リニューアル改装中のため休業しております。営業再開については5月頃オープンを予定しております。皆様にはご迷惑をおかけしておりますが、ご理解のほどよろしくお願いいたします。詳しくは956-3321 956-3321までお問い合わせください。以上、スポンサーローヤルレストランより店舗リニューアルのお知らせでした。引き続き音楽をお届けいたします。この後も 78.6MHz FM 読谷でお楽しみください。